I see what here, chaps and chappets, Game Chap and Bertie here.
Yeah.
Yes, fellows, and I dare say we are now discussing here some rather interesting unused features and certain things found in the game code of Super Smash Bros. This time the 3DS version, you know.
Most certainly, yes indeed. Unused graphics, unused features, all sorts of different things. And no doubt you fans out there will be very interested to see what's going on. So keep on just watching your gameplay there, and we'll put the differences and show the different pictures as and when we come to them.
Now, fellows, quite importantly, some of these unused features pertain to the possibility of upcoming DLC or extra features, basically. So we're interested in showing you what these are. Now, firstly, we have here some interesting buttons which would have appeared on the stage and or character select screens.
Most certainly, yes indeed. And just picking up interestingly on what you said there, DLC, yes indeed. Could we see these perhaps in the future in DLC? Well, we'll come to that perhaps in a minute, or we'll think about that, maybe. Could, whatever. But here, some stage and character select button screens, as you say. Rather interesting, because could this suggest scrolling screens, perhaps?
Well, indeed, scrolling select screens. Now, of course, this could mean you could press the left or right buttons to change character and or stage selection screens, therefore suggesting you could, of course, have more stages and characters in the future, and you'll change between the two options or the two screens thereof by pressing those buttons, as you can see, because there's, after all, a left and right arrow there.
Most certainly. So these were among the menu texture files, and perhaps the larger ones for characters and the smaller ones for stages.
Well, I don't know, but it's rather interesting, I say, to speculate what they could be used for. Indeed, they do appear to be the right size to fit on those two screens, and of course, if, for example, wild speculation here, you had, I don't know, Snake and the Ice Climbers and the Chorus Men or something in the future, you could press one of those buttons to change over to your DLC characters, stages, etc., and so forth.
Interesting point. So they're there, but not used at the moment.
Not as yet, Old and of course we could see that perhaps carrying over to the Wii U version. Well, of course, it's just speculation at this stage, but very interesting to see that unused in the game.
Yes.
I also understand there's unused images in the game itself relating to the sharing, uploading, downloading, and general trading of data, it seems.
Most certainly, unused data, sharing sort of images and pictures here, perhaps suggesting you could upload your Me data or whatever, which currently you can't do. But nevertheless, these pictures are showing that possibly they were thinking about this, or maybe it be coming in DLC, perhaps.
We don't know, indeed, because of course right now we can of course save replays, we can save screenshots, we can save stages on the Wii U versions, and we can of course have custom Miis, but we can't actually trade those or share them over the internet as yet. I mean, for example, just the other day I wanted to download some stages in the Wii version, and of course you can't do that. You can only make your own ones and play with friends on those stages. But these images, as you can see here, appear to suggest there's a way to upload and download replays, screenshots, and Miis on the 3DS one, and presumably on the Wii U one, there may be a way to do stages too.
Very interesting. So yes, indeed, they are there. Now, the fact they haven't actually put them in points perhaps they just scrapped it, or maybe in the future, as we said, DLC, because it would be strange to have them there, but then not implement them into the game, or perhaps wait until the next game or something.
That's right, and of course this is something we see with other games that come to the market, like for example Assassin's Creed and various other games. They tend to have, shall we say, incomplete versions actually shipped to the customer on launch day, but then a day one patch is released, which makes use of things already in the game and fixes bugs and changes and tweaks things, etc. and so forth. Perhaps what we're seeing here is data that's on the cartridge in preparation for a future update, because we don't know how far ahead Nintendo have planned. They could have planned ahead years into the future for all we know, or they could have a game plan that perhaps uses at least in part some of these assets here.
Most certainly, let's not forget that. That's a good point. Yes, it may not be DLC as I was saying there, although could be, but it could be, as you say, patches, updates that cause these things to suddenly appear.
That's right, Hillboy, and unlock them just like the character select screen buttons. Now also, I understand there are indeed some further unused graphics lurking in the game somewhere pertaining to the All-Star Mode stages.
Most certainly. Now, these look rather interesting, as you can see there. A series numbered going up and up in sequence.
Yes.
Of, stage, basically, stage clear, final results, etc., so forth, which we don't see in the game at the moment.
That's right. Now, actually, the game currently will use stages 1 to 6, stage 1 clear up to 6 clear, along with the results icon there, and also the black final results wording for the All-Star Mode. Now, of course, stage 7, 8, and 9, because All-Star Mode actually includes all of the characters, but that's why why it's All-Star.
Yes.
You can't have Stage 7, 8 and 9 at the moment because there aren't enough characters for those.
Yes.
But the presence of Stage 7, 8 and 9 suggests that in the future there may well be more characters, thereby extending the All-Star mode and necessitating the use of those stage clear icons.
Ah, yes, indeed, most certainly. As we said there, we don't see those later ones there, but as you just quite rightly pointed out, perhaps this means or points to more characters.
Well,
that's rather interesting, and I'm sure everyone out there would be thinking that's a jolly good idea. The more characters, the merrier, even though we've got quite a lot already.
That's right, so you really have to do a bit of Sherlocking here and a bit of detective work and put the pieces together and see that indeed this is strongly hinting towards more content in the future.
Most certainly, but let's hope so.
So also, Vales, interestingly, discovered within the game file was some narration that was unused on the 3DS version. Now, for example, the narrator said things like event match, boss battle, special smash, 8-player smash, etc. and so forth, master and crazy orders, and actually, I think we can play some of those, old boy. Let's listen, shall we?
Tourney! Official tourney! The champion is... Grab the coins! 8-player smash! Smash World! Master orders! Crazy orders! Choose a build! Boss battle!
So as you can hear there, Fails, unused sounds by the narrator on the 3DS version there. Now, of course, what we could be seeing here, indeed, is some duplicate data from the Wii U version, because many of those modes the narrator spoke of are, of course, actually on the Wii U version, not the 3DS version. But does it also mean they may one day make an appearance in the 3DS as well?
Well, yes, it could well point to that. The fact that they're there alone could point to that. So that's rather interesting. Sounds and different sounds for different things perhaps coming in the future.
I mean, we had one call out there of Smash World. I mean, what is Smash World, old chap? Is it to do with Smash Tour? Is it Smash Run? It's a strange name.
Or an idea or plan that they've got for the future DLC or update that they're going to bring in, or just something they want there just in case they need it.
Exactly, and he also said choose a build. Now, what's that, old boy? Is that to do with stages? Is it to do with custom characters? I mean, who knows? It could be anything, old chap.
Well, that's interesting. Yes, custom characters. Of course, we can build your own stages at the moment in the latest version. But, could it... Perhaps this is a way to toggle between your stages you've built, or, as you may say, perhaps characters.
Yes, I don't think it means you can choose builds of the game. So, yes, indeed, I think it would have to mean something to do with characters and or custom stages. So, that was interesting. Now, also, there was a very juicy tidbit hiding in there as well, which is to do with a character that has been cut from Brawl. Now, of course, as you may know, Vanills, indeed many people know this, the Ice Climbers were actually cut from Super Smash Bros. 4 because Mr. Sakurai said it was due to the limitations of the 3DS. In other words, he said, we just can't have all these characters, there's 2 in the Ice Climbers, as you know. He said, we can't have 8 characters on the screen at once in the 3DS, it's just too much data, it can't handle it, etc. and so forth. But actually, inside the game, and indeed in the Japanese version of the game, there is or was a taunt called out by the audience. In fact, not a taunt, a cheer. Sometimes they'll go, Mario, Mario, if you're winning, etc. and so forth. In this particular one, they said, well, I'll let you hear it, I say. Here we go.
Let's play it.
Now, was that Nana and Popo I heard there, old chap?
It could well be.
I think it was. Of course, who are Nana and Popo? Well, they're the Ice Climbers, of course, old chap.
Yes, indeed.
Now, you may be asking, well, where does this appear in the game? Well, actually, it appears when the villager is being cheered for by the Japanese audience in the Japanese version of the game. They'll say Nana and Popo rather than saying villager or Murabito as it's known in the Japanese version.
Ah, so we hear this in the Japanese version only then?
That's right, old boy.
Very interesting.
It's very interesting. So perhaps left in from the early days of development in the game there, we had this Ice Climbers chance, which suggests that perhaps the Ice Climbers themselves were indeed at one point in the game.
Yes, but perhaps, as you say...
Were they replaced with the villager, old chap?
Well, that's a good point. And perhaps, what do you think out there? It could have been replaced, but apparently this is indeed a new recording and not just something that's come on from Brawl.
No, not a scrap. Many sounds were reused from Brawl for this game, Fideos, and also older Super Smash Bros. Games, but this one is actually new. So therefore, we do know there was definitely something ice climbery going on at some point in development, and perhaps again, it might hint for a future DLC character if they can work out those limitations, as they say.
Well, most certainly. I mean, who knows? They may have thought, well, we've got loads of characters in here. Why push ourselves any more for more characters?
Indeed.
Let's put these on the back burner, maybe introduce them in the future some way, patch or updates or whatever, and then we've already got the sound files there, or perhaps they just left them in, didn't bother to take them out.
That's right, Gilbert. We just don't know, but certainly there's a lot of data hanging around here that is as yet unaccounted for.
Yes.
Now, also, there are many variations between the Japanese and Western releases of the game. For example, in Japan, they'll call him Dedede as opposed to King DDD in the English version. And once more, let's play a few of those announcer call-outs just to compare the difference there.
Lucina, Lucina, Day, King DDD, Pikmin and Olimar, Robot, Rob.
So indeed, some variations between the Western and Japanese releases of the game. Of course, we've got the difference between Rosetta and Chico, Rosalina and Luma, Pikmin and Olimar versus just Olimar by himself, etc. and so forth. And we see some localization going on there. Also, I understand the Wii Fit trainers will also speak in their respective language for the different matches they appear in. Now, also, interestingly, there were further unused images in the form of the How to Play guide for Smash Run. Rather interestingly, old chap.
Oh, that's interesting. And just going back to those variations there, you mentioned the Wii Trainer and different voices. Is there any variations in the way they look?
No, Elboy, it's just the sound.
They're
It's
the
just
same, so
use
it
their
is the
regional accents, you see, for those ones.
Most certainly, yes.
Now, of course, in the Smash Run mode, as you can see there, we had
Yes.
various mix-ups. There were perhaps the development team decided to change the way the tutorial appeared at some point, perhaps to make it rather more interesting. And indeed, the old images are still in there, lurking in the game files somewhere. So once again, we see some early development stage hints as to what was going on when the game was being put together.
Yes.
Of course, we had the Ice Climbers hint in the form of the Nana and Popo chant, and with these files actually still in the game, it does suggest a degree of the game being unfinished, and again perhaps requiring, or shall we say, opening the possibility for some future updates and things that might be added later on.
Most certainly, all of this seems to point that way. Just looking at those images there, is there anything interesting we can see differences there, perhaps to the old and new?
Well, certainly we can see the high jump versus ray gun, the dual cyclone was in, now there's the power bomb, just some changes to the way the items are structured.
Yes.
Of course, we had an interesting, strange picture there, as you can see, with some kind of a template graphic, I suppose, old boy.
yes,
Just a blank screen, which was later appeared with the ability icons there, like the strength, the speed, etc., and so forth. Also there, the battlefield image was replaced with something rather more interesting and exciting, with DK doing his hand clap there, etc., and so forth.
Yes,
So
indeed.
they were really perhaps deciding which of these images to use, and perhaps at one point during development, things were going so fast and being put together so quickly, they forgot to take the old ones out, old chap.
Yes, it could be, and indeed, perhaps they were, as you say, going so fast that they shelved a lot of these things that we can see now, perhaps to bring them up in the future, as you just said.
Oh, very much, and this is only what we can see here. Who knows what went on behind the curtains? And of course, what interests me and what I'd like to see soon, old boy, is a delve inside the Wii U version of the game, which they haven't yet been able to do. But if they can do that and take a look inside at things that were unused, that might provide some more very interesting insight into the goings-on behind the scenes, as it were.
Well, most certainly, and I've no doubt that someone will get into that and do that.
They always do, Elchap.
Well, yes, indeed. And should it come out and be available, we'll certainly let you know, let you know all about it.
Yeah, that's right, Isaac. But anyway, fellas, there you are. This is quite an interesting investigation into the history of Super Smash Bros. On 3DS and ultimately the series of the game both on Wii U and 3DS as a whole, because we have many possibilities there that have not yet been explored, and what particularly interests me are those left and right selection buttons on the character and stage select screens. I think they're so interesting, old chap. They could mean any number of things.
Well, yes, they could indeed. Yes, perhaps as we said earlier there, one for character, perhaps one for stages, we don't know. But what this is pointing to, and I think what the fans will be very interested in, is are we going to see any more additions to the game? And not just the 3DS version, but indeed the Wii U one as well.
Could there be another mode in the form of this strange Smash World thing, old chap? Who knows what that could be?
Well, yes, it could be. You know, we've said about this. We talked about DLC a few videos back. We were talking about DLC for, I think, Wii U. I'm not sure, but I think it was Wii U. But, you know, yes, we want to know, is there anything more coming up? Because, you know, people, it's a good game that they've done. They've put a lot of characters in, a lot of stages. They've done a lot of effort to it. But ultimately, you know, people get excited and they get a bit of a buzz about saying, well, I've got all this, but hey, perhaps there's more.
What's next?
What's next? So information like this will no doubt be very interesting to the fans, and they'll want to say, oh, yes, it looks like there's something in the pipeline to come, you know, in the future.
And I think a tactic Nintendo could very well employ. I mean, they brought in the Wii U version to great fanfare. They said, look how much better this this game is over the 3DS one. This is so much better. But of course, where does that leave the 3DS game? You know, I wouldn't put it past Nintendo at all to say there's this grand new update coming out for the 3DS one. You've got all these new features, so go along and buy the 3DS game as well. And now you need to have both games.
Well, yes, no, I said this in one of our previous Nintendo videos. You know, the 3DS, it seems that it's just been shelved now, and undoubtedly they bought it out in advance, because if you bought the Wii U one out first and then the 3DS, I mean, who's going to buy the 3DS one when they've already got the Wii U?
Hardly as many people, that's for sure. Some people would still buy it for the mobility purposes, I'm sure, and being able to play Smash on the move, but not as many as would otherwise have done to get the first look at this new fighting game.
Most certainly, it's a marketing thing, and I'm not sure whether bringing out new content for the 3DS over the Wii U would be best for Nintendo.
Perhaps they'll do it simultaneously.
Well, yes, I think that perhaps would be wise, because I think as they brought it out for 3DS, a lot of people say, hey, well, why is it not on the Wii U? We want it on the Wii U now, because we're playing Wii U mostly and mainly.
Well, I don't know, because of course we've got Smash Run on the 3DS, which we don't have on the Wii U, so who knows? I mean, we are dealing with Nintendo here. They could go any way and do anything at all, but in any case, they'll go for some rather interesting snippets on Super Smash Bros. 3DS. Join us again, I say, for more exciting insights, and we hope to see you in the Super Smash Bros. Wii U version, I say.
Most certainly, yes indeed.
Join us again, I say, for more exciting Nintendo news. We look forward to seeing you then.
Yes,
Until then.